We're on DSTV channel 279, also streaming across the world on Facebook at TV3 Ghana. Do join us. The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Kingsford Babin, has directed the Assembly of all members of Parliament to Tuesday, May 2. The lawmakers are to assemble for an urgent parliamentary business according to the notice of recall issued by the Speaker of Parliament on Thursday, April 20. Speaker Bagbin is exercising this authority based on Order 42 Clause 3 of the Standing Orders of the Parliament of Ghana. We know Parliament proceeded to recess on Friday, March 31 and was expected to reassemble on July. Ranking Member of Parliament's Finance Committee and Minority Leader Dr. Kezala Toforson took to social media to announce the reason for the recall. He said he has been informed that the House will sit for only one day to consider loan agreements currently before it. He further stated it is difficult to understand why NPP government has the courage to continue borrowing, especially after its reckless borrowing has completely destroyed the Ghanaian economy beyond recognition. The Speaker is expected to return to Ghana after his official trip to Gibraltar for conduct proceedings. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Komla Kloche has been looking ahead to May 2 recall and the issues that would dominate business of Parliament that day.
These are the three loan agreements that they are considering. The financing agreement between the government of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Finance and International Development Association, ID of the World Bank Group, for an amount of $60 million as a third additional financing for the Ghana COVID-19 emergency preparedness response project. The second one is a financing agreement between the government of Ghana, represented by the Finance Ministry and International Development Association of the World Bank Group, for an amount of $150 million to finance the West Africa Food System Resilience Program Phase 2. And the final one is on lending agreement between the government of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Finance and the Development Bank of Ghana, for an amount of 170 million euros to support the establishment of a financially sustainable development bank under the finance contract agreement between the government of Ghana, represented by the Minister of Finance. So, after the back and forth, the majority leader pushed that this loan agreement should be passed. In fact, the Finance Committee has already considered them. The report has indicated the decision was just a majority one on the Finance Committee. The minority is averse to this because for them, this is adding up to the already ballooning debt that the country has had. Sources within tells me that, well, all of this is as a result of the conditionalities that the IMF is looking at. They need to be able to have some firm backing in terms of financing, in as much as they are seeking a $3 billion bailout. So all of this are things that the IMF is equally pushing undertone for them to be able to have before they will be able to get the $3 billion that they are seeking from the IMF.
The Ghana Police Service has denied engaging in power theft and illegal connection at its Osu and Kumasi barracks after ECG's debt recovering team claims last week. The service says its investigations found no such wrongdoing. A statement by the police maintained ECG disconnected 3 buildings at the barracks because they had no electricity meters and nothing to do with power theft.
The power distributors clampdown has cut across MMDAs, state institutions and corporate bodies thought to be using power without paying the commensurate bills.
This one is a straightforward case. We take them through prosecution. This is a pure illegal connection, just like we do to any other illegal corporates. We have disconnected them. As we speak now, they are not on our network.
ECG says the exercise has been successful and led to the recovery of debts in excess of 20 million cedis over the period. But it is their discovery of some anomalies at the Osu barracks of the police on March 28 that has generated quite a bit of a negative reaction.
The team was there to serve notice to the Osu police station and barracks. I think the administration block had a bill of about 40,000, and then the barracks had a bill of about 60,000 in total. And so we weren't intending to disconnect them. We're just serving them notice to make the payment or come to us so that we have an arrangement and then pay for them to pay the bill. So while they were on the ground, they realized some of the lines looked irregular. And so they traced and later found out that 3 of the blocks had been connected directly to the grid without passing through our meters. And that was when they sounded an alarm. In that case, we have no option but to disconnect.
In Kumasi, similar anomalies were discovered, prompting a probe by the Inspector General of Police. The investigations, according to a police statement, have revealed no illegal connection or power theft at the Osu and Kumasi barracks. The police maintains payment of electricity bills by the service is centrally managed and not directly paid for by individual police officers, and therefore there is no incentive for the service or any of its officers to steal electricity. At the Osu barracks, the ECG disconnected 3 buildings because they had no electricity meters, same as one of the buildings in Kumasi because the ECG had indicated they did not have meters available at the time. The police statement noted all police regional commands have been directed to officially invite and work with ECG officials within their areas of operation to re-examine all existing electricity connections and metering in all police facilities across the country.
Let's turn attention to some Galamsey-related stories. Some government officials and MPP functionaries cited in Professor Frimpong Boateng Galamsey report have been reacting to damning revelations of complicity which thwarted government's fight against the menace. The former Minister of Environment, Professor Kwam Frimpong Boateng, has alleged some top government officials are engaged in illegal mining. In a 36-page letter, Professor Frimpong Boateng noted his efforts at fighting illegal mining were frustrated by some government officials. One of the individuals mentioned is former Secretary of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Charles Bisu, who was a subject of a CID probe in 2022.
I'm disappointed that he is coming out at this time that the president has asked the CID to investigate the statement that he made regarding the 500 missing excavators that he alleged or he said, okay, which was in fact not the truth. He's had this information for over 4 years, and I am privy to that information too. Why now? That's my question. The majority of the things that Prof had written in the document, yes, they're true. With regards to the president disregarding dealing with the Galamsey menace, I'm not sure, because he was the chairman of the committee. So he could have gone to the president and said that, and then he said he did. But he himself, I don't think he should come out to say he's the last one standing. Was he really listening to them? Prof knows that he's not clean himself, you understand? And when he came out to say 500 excavators have gone missing, in the report I've read that he said no, it was somebody who stated it is not true. I've actually given a lot of report to the CID so they can actually look at that. But my point is that if we're building a nation, then elderly statesmen like Prof shouldn't mislead the country. He's not being honest to Ghanaians. If he was still the Minister of Environment, would he have actually leaked this report? I'm not allegedly, you understand? Would he have written that report?
One of the NPP functionaries cited in this report is former MP4 Manson Kwanta Joseph Albert Kwam. He has denied owning any Galamsey concession because of his association with the Minerals Commission. He told Alfred Okanse on Ghana Tonight the report must be discredited while calling out on former chair of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining.
I must say that the statement is totally untrue. Did he say dozens of large-scale concessions? To my hearing, my brother, I do not own even a single concession, let alone dozens. I do not even have one concession. In any case, if he claims that I have concessions, you cannot have a concession without a document. Land concession is the same as how we acquire a plot of concession. So if he claims that, he should produce the number of concessions that he feels that I own in my name before we move to the next level. Because if I don't have a concession, how am I going to sell a concession to someone? I will consider the report as bogus. He should retract and apologize to me. Other than that, I will advise myself, because you cannot damage my integrity. My constituency was a Galamsey Brun area. So as a member of parliament, I was fighting to make sure that we get a small-scale designated area for my people to get lands to do proper, legal, small-scale mining. Because I was the lead advocate against the illegal mining.
Let's still remain on that subject. Environmental conservation group Erocha Ghana says the revelations in Professor Frimpong Boateng's book goes to confirm the long-held view that government's Galamsey fight was a mere rhetoric. Deputy National Director Dario Boso is disappointed no real prosecutions have arisen from Galamsey while the water bodies and forest reserves continue to be depleted. He told Alfred Okansi on Ghana Tonight an independent body is required to probe the claims by the chairman of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Professor Frimpong Boateng.
There's a lot that we all need to be concerned about, because it's not only about those bits that Prof. Frimpong is talking about that he reported to the president and nothing was done. If you recall, one of the key challenges the Vanguard team spoke about was the fact that of a lot of the arrests they make, we fail to follow up with the necessary prosecution to ensure that all these people in the pit who were acting with impunity were brought to book. We didn't see that happen. Now, the Vanguard left, the police came, and what you see on the ground, these people are not going there to enforce the law. They rather seem to go chat with the people, shake hands, and then they are back.
So the point I'm trying to make...
So you see that there was actually a culture of really just making it look like there was an action going on, but on the real side, nothing really was happening. Right. Talked about politically exposed persons who were interfering, causing the work of the team to deal with Galamsey not to be successful. So now you see now we are actually getting to see what was really happening behind the scenes. And I know a lot of worms are going to come out of the can eventually, and we are all happy. We want to see all of these come, because this is where we are going to make sure that there's transparency and we get to deal with the issues as they are. At this point, I said we need to look at getting some very independent. In state institutions that have some semblance of independence, like the Shraj, and also look at the Office of the Special Prosecutor, these institutions to look at this case again. And I think that we should, even if they are going to constitute a committee or anything to look at the outcome of this particular report, it shouldn't be the same people we already know. We want to see that something different. I'm actually trying to ask myself, from what we have seen so far, what can be different? But I think we wait to see. And I think this is where I also charge our leadership to show us that they really are in charge. Because if this report and all its content in terms of the substance of it and the content, if it's all true as it is, then we really don't have any leadership in terms of dealing with Galamsey. And it's all been just a facade.
A coalition of media groupings is demanding the immediate repeal of Section 76 of the Electronic Communications Act and 208 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act. According to the group, which includes the Ghana Journalists Association, growing criminalization is free speech in the country.
The latest demand by the coalition follows an earlier petition by the Media Foundation for West Africa to the Attorney General over similar concerns last year following a rise in the arrests of journalists across the country. journalists and activists arrested in the last 2 years have been picked up based on the two provisions. Section 76 of the Electronic Communications Law and 208 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act. The arrest of Radio Adan journalist Noah Dame, according to the group made up of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association of Ghana, the Ghana Journalists Association of Ghana, the Media Foundation for West Africa, and the Private Newspaper Publishers Association of Ghana, becomes one too many of the criminalization of speeches by journalists. Addressing a news conference, President of the Ghana Journalists Association, Albert Jumfor, said failure to repeal the laws would worsen the country's press freedom index.
The victims of the erstwhile criminal libel law were also dealt with in line with the law. Indeed, many of the world's intolerant and autocratic governments typically deal with decent and press offenses by exploiting the law. Hence, our call for a repeal of these two laws. We are also much aware that the recent detention of Noah Dame has been picked by the Reporters Without Borders, and that may consequently affect our ranking.
One of the 6 NPP aspirants for the Kumawood by-election in Kumasi has withdrawn his candidature from the race. Former MP Opinion Yaoba, who had been cleared by the party's vetting committee to contest the NPP primaries on May 6, has written to the by-elections committee to indicate his decision not to push ahead. In the letter, Yaoba noted he has, upon sober reflection and consultation with his family and close friends, come to the conclusion his energies and expertise would be required at the national level. Instead of being limited to the Kumawood constituency, he says he sees himself as a great player in the NPP scheme of breaking the 8. Yaoba subsequently indicated he's throwing his support behind Obatampa Sewa. He urged the delegates to vote for her while expressing gratitude to the Kumawood Traditional Council. Twitter has begun removing the legacy verified check marks from profiles of thousands of celebrities, politicians, journalists, and many users. Users including President Akufo-Addo, former President John Dramani Mahama, singer Jackie, and some ministers have all lost the blue badge.
It is one mark which over the years has been held by many public figures and users to signify the authenticity of their account. When he took over ownership of the company, Elon Musk promised to commercialize the blue badge to rid the site of what he described as a lords and peasants system. Anyone who was willing to pay $8 a month would be offered the blue badge. Whether criticized, liked or not, Musk has indeed followed through his plan.
If more people quit, it will mean that the active user numbers for Twitter itself will reduce, okay? And it will mean that for big brands, for example, when they want to, when they are running campaigns, like when I'm running campaigns for clients, I look at reach, okay? So if the numbers are, low, then it means the number of people that I was reaching before are not reaching those numbers anymore, okay? Already, Twitter is far behind the Meta Group, Facebook and Instagram and Google when it comes to ad revenue.
Government officials, right from the presidency to ministries, have not been spared. They have been stripped of the blue checks. First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo, former President Mahama, Information Minister Kojo Ponkroma are among a slew of public figures who are now without the blue badge. Musicians like Sarkodie, Jackie, Efia, Kofi Kinata and others have equally lost it.
In terms of losing the verification, what it means is that they are all of a sudden vulnerable to people who want to set up fake accounts for all sorts of dubious activities. For example, celebrities and government officials, sometimes we set up accounts to use it to raise funds on the
That's all we have for you on the morning news with me, Godwin Asiba. There's more news if you log on to 3news.com. Don't forget to get interactive with us across all social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. My report, Married to Cocaine, will be airing next week, Wednesday, April 26th, to make a date. Roland, good morning.